government promised to give us 10% of the national budget, but then they are giving us 2.6. The other 8.2 is not there, and that is the problem we are facing. When people are not that much educated within the societies, and people are not accessible to some kind of systemic education that is more legitimate to them, people will not be able to treat people at the end of the day, maybe in the future, and there will be nobody to educate people within the agriculture sector. So I just realized that all these problems are interconnected, and the more there is a weakness within the health sector, the more that problem will come and affect education. The more there is problem within the agriculture sector, the more that problem will affect education, and education affects all of them because it acts as the overall seer that educate people to act on the agriculture, and now people can treat themselves within society. But then two, I came to realize also that all the problems within South Sudan, government doesn't really account for all of them. Why? Because we have societies with primitivity, like individuals who still hold on to cultures from the past, like because I am from Nuer, because I am from Bari, my culture should be hold on to them, that girls shouldn't go to school, boys should go to school, girls should be exposed to some kind of cooking at home, boys should go and hunt, boys should go to school and do a lot of stuff. Because of those cultures, people became primitive and still hold on to those cultures, trying to believe it is them. And when an organization or maybe a stakeholder tries to tell them that that is really bad, they will see that person as someone who is trying to challenge their norms and end up questioning the legitimacy of those institutions. So we just realize that within the society, we have people who go against things such as the education and awareness. So they just think when they are told that this culture of yours is not really effective to both genders, they just think people are going against their norms, and that is a problem with the society. I've come to realize myself. I will tell you a few things, and my second I will tell you more about that. One are the problem facing education within South Sudan, but then secondly, what causes all those things, and then their effects within the societies. What causes the problems within South Sudan? But then before that, why is education really important within South Sudan? You see, with education, people who are really illiterate, they do not know why it's important for both genders to go to school, why it's not important for girls to stay at home and boys go to school. Then they still hold on to that because they are not aware that education is really important for both people. If you go to places such as that are not developed like a Kobo, individuals who are not aware about the importance of education, they don't care whether their children go to school or not. So long as they don't know that education is very important, they don't take their children to school. So most of the people, because the vast majority of people in the school are boys, they just think education is not really important to the other gender. So I just feel like organizations or maybe NGOs should really focus on education and awareness, because the more society is aware about the importance of education, the more they get to adapt to the new evolutionary society, and the more they get to take girls to the schools. The problems affecting the education in South Sudan, one is low access and enrollment. You see, the problem with the education in South Sudan is that most of the individuals are not accessible to education. That is to say, 2.3 million of children in South Sudan are not accessible to education, and we keep on singing that the children are the future of South Sudan. When 2.3 million children are not exposed to education, that is like saying 2.3 million children are the future generation of South Sudan, when they don't know what education is about, when they don't know what the society is about, and when they don't know how the systems of the government are. We just think that one becomes a problem. Why? Because these individuals are the future of South Sudan, and when they don't access education, we just think that one becomes a problem at the end of the day, because they are the future, and if the problem is not solved, it ends up affecting them. What is the cause of this? One is poverty. At the end of the day, because society doesn't have that resources to take their children to school, all of them, they end up staying at home because maybe the government haven't funded them, or maybe because the education sector is not really giving free services to all the people, or children with disability are not exposed to education. Though NGOs and other organizations are having greater impact on that, and I appreciate that, other individuals are still not accessing education because they are in poverty and they are exposed to lack of resources at the end of the day. Two is the problem of the infrastructures. Most of the schools are not climate resilient infrastructure. That is the same. When there is something like a flood, a drought, or something that is very bad, that school will not be in position to avoid that thing, not to tear up the whole system of education within that country. Things such as the heat wave affected the whole system of education. That is because of the impact from climate change, and the society is not aware that throwing a bottle anyhow within the society is very bad. When those bottles accumulate, someone from Okobo throw a bottle there, someone from Bol throw in Juba, in anywhere, and they throw bottles like that, they accumulate, and at the end of the day, the whole weather pattern of South Sudan is affected, and things such as heat end up existing at the end of the day. So that is the problem I've seen, because individuals are not exposed to education. So the problem of climate resilience should really be considered. Why? Because with flood that is being stopped within Bhutan, if children in Bhutan are affected by flood, we just think the school should be built like some kind of climate resilient school to stop flood, so the whole education system of Bhutan wouldn't be affected, and the same thing in Akobo and other cities within South Sudan. But then also, we have problem with the critical shortage and the number of teachers within the school, because there are the vast majority of teachers teaching within the school are males, and we do not have female within the school. And scientifically, we believe a girl can connect best to a girl. A boy cannot connect best to a girl. Why? Because they're not of the same gender. So we just think having female teachers within the school can make education more favorable. Why? Because girls will have that favoritism, and they can be able to connect themselves with the female teachers within the school. But then also, we have problems with underfunding within the education system. Why? There's problem with some kind of chronic underfunding, because within the budgeting, the education sector currently is given 2.6 million, and we have teachers that need to be paid, and we have teachers that are even protesting in some other parts of South Sudan because their salary is not being given. We just think that is the problem. Why? Because that budget is not really enough to solve all our problems. But then, if you give me a full bottle of water, say, Garang, you drink this water, I will not complain. Why? Because it is full. But if it is half, I will complain because you haven't given to me what you have promised. The government promised to give us 10% of the national budget, but then they are giving us 2.6. The other 8.2 is not there, and that is the problem we are facing. If they give us that 8.2, that 8.2 might help us, but then now in the second place, we might end up complaining about things in the second place. So if that 10% is given to us, there is a high possibility that the problems of the whole education sector would be solved. Lastly, the government and the organization are really doing well in solving all these problems. But then the issue is, let us put much effort in that. And then with fundings, all these problems of South Sudan can be solved. Let us understand that education and awareness are very important within the society. Thank you very much.